Koinonia. Koinonia. Say koinonia. Koinonia. Koinonia is a Greek word that means fellowship by intimate participation. Fellowship by intimate participation. It shows up in the book of Acts, koinonia, and it's used usually like this. The disciples were in koinonia with each other. And it meant that they were in fellowship by intimate participation together. When Peter and Cornelius met each other, and Cornelius and the Gentiles were welcomed into the fold and given the waters of baptism, they became in koinonia with each other. Fellowship by intimate participation. And some 5-6 years ago, when First Congregational Church of Battle Creek began investing in this conviction that we need to reach people who are not here already, we became invested in that idea before we even started investing in the koinonia service and the leadership that would take to create that. We became convinced again that what God is doing through First Congregational Church of Battle Creek isn't just for those lucky enough to have been here already, but for all those who sorely need the kind of koinonia that the people of God have known in this place for over 180 years. Community that is open to new ideas. Community that is loving and friendly and affirming and spiritually committed to a living God who cares about how the world is. As we heard in the telling of Acts 10 today, koinonia invites a new kind of community that honors difference, that includes everyone, that is curious and open and courageous. And so 5 years ago, this church became convicted by the idea that we need to reach people that are not presently already here, and it began investing in the resources that it would take to begin to do that. And you called Emily Joy, and you told her, spend half of your time outside of here. Spend half of your time in the community making relationships and meeting new people. And you told her, launch a new ministry geared toward younger adults, young families. And then Emily Joy came to you and said, we need to hire somebody else. Thank you for that, by the way. The two of us sat around the table with several other people some 5 years ago, and we talked about the values that we hoped would shape worship here. And we wanted to make space, yes, for those who were not here already, but we wanted to make a certain kind of space, not a space that would change people from one kind of thing into another kind of a thing, like not for people out there who are not like us to become like us in that space. We wanted to create a space where the people who are not here already would be able to be themselves to be fully who God has called them to be here. And so that looked like some explicit commitments 5 years ago. It looked like an explicit commitment to be an openly LGBTQ affirming ministry. It looked like an explicit commitment to progressive Christian theology. It looked like an explicit commitment to music that was sort of flowy and improvisational and moving and emotional and with drums and guitars sometimes. And it looked like making a space that was different than the spaces of worship we had had in here before. And the members of First Congregational Church who had been here created that space and blessed that space and said, do what you need to do in that space. You have the room to do that. I don't know if you fully appreciate how rare that is for a church to do. Lots of churches want to reach people that are not present. Very few churches are willing to put the resources into that and then set those resources loose and stand back and watch what happens. That's a rare and beautiful thing. And those of you who were around and part of that decision-making and the voting and the budgeting and all of that helped designate those resources in that way, thank you and understand how visionary you really were then. Every church, most churches, many churches want to reach people that aren't coming. Very few are able to do that in a meaningful way. So this morning we're going to hear a little bit of testimony from a few who have been impacted by Koinonia of Battle Creek. People who have found their faith journey has evolved since they've been here. We're going to hear from Jim Siemers and from Taryn Vitale and from Charlie Fulbright. And they're going to share stories of the impact of what this congregation was able to birth 5 years ago this Sunday. This time I would like to invite Jim to come forward.
Can I just stand here?
Yes.
It's easier. When Tom mentioned this to me, it brought to mind some questions. And the first question was, why did I go to this service? And I guess I was curious. So I came to the service, and here were a bunch of 12 little kids running around before the service. I thought, gee, this is fun. I really enjoy seeing this. The second thing is, they had this mediocre piano player, and he and his combo would turn our congregation on. So it was a very pleasing experience. Secondly, why did I think it was important that I attend? And we all need help. And it was a way I felt that we had to show our strength and our participation and enthusiasm to these people. I know when I had little kids, older people in the church encouraged me, helped me, and I thought, well, it's my turn in the bucket to do my share. How does Koinonia strengthen ourselves and others? The Koinonia service is different. When we pray, it's kind of like an open prayer. That is, as you know, every day is not a a jewel, some days are a stone. And when people get up and share that they're in need and they need help, the congregation joins them and says, we're here to do whatever we can. Or they offer thanks for the blessings that they received. So it was a way of opening up people. Like most of the time, we kind of just sit here at 10 o'clock and nod our head how great Tom Ott does. And but it's a little more, you're a part of the service, and so I encourage it to continue.
And this is Taryn by Charlie.
Good morning. So to begin, I just want to recap on a little bit of what Tom Ryberg said and shine a light on. He said something along the lines of Koinonia wasn't created, the motivation wasn't to create a space to change people, but was a space to be created for people to be themselves. So on January 3rd, Sunday, January 3rd was Epiphany Sunday, a day in Koinonia worship that was dedicated to honoring our young children. Adults in the Koinonia family created loving expressions of art for each particular child, having their unique interests and personalities in mind. Simon Meinhardy Dale chose my daughter Vita to create for as they share a special bond. Simon has an amazing gift of caring for children. And, of course, Vita's approval, which she has confirmed Simon is the next bestest daddy next to her daddy. So this painting was the painting he created for Vita. For people listening on the radio or who otherwise can't see very well, it's a beautiful sunset scene with a couple of trees framing it and a little princess in her blue sundress. And the caption reads, "Princesses don't need rescuing. Most are already here." And I find this statement to be pretty accurate, whether Vita is persistently and cleverly challenging me to bend to her will, or adoringly expressing her tender heart. I often feel she is my little princess. So, and this is just one of the many ways Koinonia impacts me. I was asked how Koinonia impacts me, and the special attention and love and care Koinonia puts into the young people, the young generation, feels very important, a very important impact for me. When Simon presented this painting to Vita, he said this: "Vita, you have taught me that being yourself isn't about changing. It's about becoming. You are the light shining bright after the proverbial bushel has been removed. You have always been you. Love, Simon." Being yourself is not about changing, it's about becoming. This is the impact Koinonia has had on me. Before I connected to the Koinonia community, I was intently focused on what I felt was important. More often than not, I felt angry and anxious because I wasn't happy with my life, and I kept focusing on things outside of myself. I wasn't happy with the house we live in. I wasn't happy with my marriage status. I wasn't happy with my body image. And what felt like the most subtle anxiety at the time, now I realize was the most significant one, I wasn't happy with my faith community. So while I was so busy and intently focused on everything outside of myself, I was neglecting my own spirit. I realize now that my anxieties and anger were my spirit's cry for help. My spirit was begging for attention. I couldn't see through all the distractions and barriers in my life. I was blinded by the pursuit of the American dream. I was blinded by the pursuit of an ideal marriage. I was blinded by the pursuit of the perfect body. I walked this self-destructive path until my spirit cried long enough and loud enough, until I simply couldn't live with my anger, anxieties, and unhappiness any longer. Becoming a part of Koinonia didn't change any of those things outside of myself. Becoming a part of the Koinonia family provided my spirit with the love and attention she was desperately needing to heal. Koinonia's offerings of art, music, words, scripture, prayer, people created a safe, nurturing, and bold space for my spirit to begin healing. The invitation, inclusion, and celebration of LGBTQ people in Koinonia community illuminates my spirit with comfort and joy. The passion and action for social justice that Koinonia embodies charges my spirit with excitement and dedication. The beautiful exchange of reaching out to lean on others in times of need, along with the opportunity to nurture and strengthen other members in times of need, truly fuels my spirit with wholeness and hopefulness. In all of these ways and so many more, I'm so grateful for and devoted to my Koinonia family. So to tie the impact Koinonia has had on me to Simon's words he spoke to Vita when presenting her with the painting, he says, "You are the light shining bright after the proverbial bushel has been removed. Koinonia has taught me to pay attention to my light shining bright, my spirit. And by doing so, by giving my attention to my spirit, I'm snuffing out my proverbial bushel of anger, anxiety, unhappiness, and brokenness. Indeed, Koinonia has taught me that being myself is not about changing. It's about becoming closer to my spirit, becoming closer to God." Thank you.
Thank you. And Charlie Fulbright, who, as you'll notice, is wearing the second nicest bow tie in this room.
He copied me. You'll have to excuse me, I'm extremely nervous, so if I stumble, please forgive me. My name is Charlie Fulbright, for those of you who don't know me, and I attend Koinonia. I've attended Koinonia for a little over a year now, and have recently become a member in July. This church means so much to me. I've been going to church my whole life with my family, and once I became an adult, I have been looking for a church that would accept me. I've attended many churches in Battle Creek and Kalamazoo, and once I found churches that were LGBT friendly, I had to make some decisions. I'm the vice president of Battle Creek Pride, so my first choice was St. Thomas because that's where our resource center is. The church is great, but something wasn't there. In high school, I created Lakeview High School's first diversity club, and when I lived in Kalamazoo, I worked hard and volunteered in the One Kalamazoo campaign to end discrimination in housing and employment for LGBT people. Then once I moved back to Battle Creek, I did the same thing with the One Battle Creek campaign. Activism, diversity, and equality are very important to me. I'm sure it helped that I'm a gay male who's African American and Panamanian and has a genetic disease. I've had my share of discrimination. Then I came to Koinonia for the first time. I can't express how much love I have for this church, for all of you. FCC and specifically Koinonia couldn't be any more perfect for me. You all are LGBT friendly, accepting, and full of love. That is just what I needed. Then to top it off, I saw all the social justice events and awareness you guys do. You fight for rights of every injustice. I can worship God, recharge my faith every Sunday, and help our community in Battle Creek fight against social injustice. We are doing God's work, and I love it. It's so important to me that we share God's love in our community by letting everyone know that God not only loves them, but doesn't care whether they're poor, disabled, a different color, or love the same gender. Social justice to me is making sure everyone is treated equally with love. Not only do we do that, but we do that with God's love. 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 says, "Dear friends, let us love one another, For love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. This verse is Koinonia. We are this verse. We as a church love one another no matter what background we come from, no matter what minority we may be. We love one another. We do this not only in our congregation, but in our community with social justice. When we let the city of Battle Creek know that they are welcome here, they all are welcome here, we slowly chip away at the injustice that happens in our city. I am so happy to claim FCC in my as my church and become... Sorry, let me redo that one. I am so happy to claim FCC as my church because of the progress we make in our community for social justice. We are a progressive church that embodies love. Thank you for making FCC a place that I can go to the vision of hope for our future. Thank you for making it a place where I can call it a home away from home.